In this video, I'm going to be breaking down a case study with verifiable proof that shows you actual results and breaks down exactly what I did to take a brand new brand that was just getting started leveraging their specialized knowledge online from zero to over $200,000 in their first 2 months of business leveraging their specialized knowledge. And when I say just getting started, let's be very clear here, because that means that they had nothing yet. No marketing assets, no strategy, no courses, no offers, like low ticket, mid ticket, high ticket, nothing other than their actual expertise and their years of experience. So they had not yet packaged up their specialized knowledge and turned it into an offer to the masses yet and build out an information marketing business online. So that's what we're working with here. From ground zero, building a business to $200,000 in sales in the first 2 months, as well as we're currently on the trajectory to take this business to a multi-7-figure per year business. And I'm going to be breaking down exactly what we're doing now. I'm going to be breaking down the exact brand profile so we can understand all the minor nuances that we had to take into consideration when it came to actually positioning this brand in the market as a brand new personal brand online that had not yet built up any trust, they hadn't built up any authority, they didn't have much credibility other than the results that they created for themselves, and then how we ultimately leveraged it to appeal to the masses and put our message in front of the masses' face to scale to $200,000 in revenue, and what we're going to continue to do moving forward to take this business to multi-7 figures. So this is going to be a great case study. Let's get ready to dive in. All right, so let's jump right into this. First things first, I do want to show you some proof here. So what you're looking at right here is a screenshot directly out of the Highroads account for this business. But before I actually finish this video, I am going to actually go into the Highroads account. I'm going to actually pull it up. I'm going to do a refresh. I'm going to actually show you the verifiable results and verifiable data in the Highroads account, because I know that there's people that just be doing the craziest stuff. They be pulling, they be butchering screenshots, they be faking screenshots, doing all types of stuff. If you're new to my channel, you will soon find out that every single thing that I say, I actually do it. And I have countless results and success stories. And in fact, I've helped business owners just like you generate over $150 million in sales online. And in this video, I'm going to show you the step-by-step process that we took to take this brand from zero to $200,000 a month. So what you're looking at here on this screenshot is basically from January 14th, 2025 to March 18th, 2025, we generated $198,000 directly here within Highroads, but I have not included the first high ticket client because we got a $10,000 wire. And real quick, before I touch base on that $10,000 wire, you may be looking at this cost like, man, $91,000. I don't have $91,000 to spend. Neither did this business. Whenever I actually get to the point of this case study, I'm going to break down to you how much we spent when we first launched the business. And it was literally $3,000 to actually get started testing. And that $3,000 turned into about $7,000 or $8,000, and then we just compounded. We reinvested the ad spend. We kept compounding and building, because at the end of the day, when it comes to launching a new business online and we get to use paid traffic to ultimately scale it up and reach our cold audience, we have to be willing to get that in, and we got to spend money. But then sometimes you may spend money and maybe you break even, maybe you lose a little bit, but it's all about getting the data first, then doubling down on the data. And that is exactly what we're doing right now in this business. And you will see that we started out small, we continued to compound, now we're building out a back end, and this is going to be a massive business that we build. And you're looking at, like, I'm literally showing it to you at ground zero at the very beginning. So all right, so I have here, not including the first high ticket client, we did get a $10,000 wire that pushes us over $200,000. And imagine that, like, being in business just 2 months for a new information marketing business, literally never have sold your specialized knowledge or expertise online, and you're able to get somebody to pay you $10,000. This process that I'm going to break down actually can create the same result for you as well, because we're going to be going over how I created the process we took to actually create a low ticket offer, a mid ticket offer, and then an actual back end offer, because you want to have different levels. But there's a way that you can go about doing it where you can collect some data first, then you can respond to the data, and you can put a solution out after you get your ideal audience to actually raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in this, tell me more. And that's what we did to ultimately end up getting this $10,000 wire. So let's go ahead and talk about the client profile. So first things first, they were an expert in their field. And what that meant for actually this brand is they've done 7 figures. Let me backtrack here, because I'm going to talk about what this brand in particular, like what she actually has created as far as her success. However, as you listen to this, don't feel like that you have to be at the same level that she was at, because the concept still holds true of are you an expert in your field? Are you already getting results for yourself, right? So in her case, she was an expert in her field. She pretty much has already grew her own business to 7 figures annual sales. Precisely, it was about like $150,000 a month or so. But people in her industry, like whether she was at $150,000 a month doing 7 figures, or at $50,000 a month, or at $30,000 a month with her thing that's working for her, like at the end of the day, she has some level of success and she has some level of expertise. She has something that she's mastered in herself. And there's going to be people out in the market that are going to be looking to get to the same level of success that she's at. She's just further along, being that she's already hit the 7-figure range. But I just want you to understand that it holds true regardless of where you are. Like, are you an expert in your field, and are you further along than your market, right? And in her case, that's what her scenario is, right? Now, her brand, she only had a few thousand followers. She was not putting out any educational content. Like, we all understand putting out value content on our social media profiles, and being able to cultivate and build rapport with your audience through Instagram content, TikTok content, YouTube content, whatever the case may be. She was not putting out any of that, right? So the market did not even see her as an authority figure in her industry. Granted, she would put out content here and there, just about her personal life, and then like her audience knew that she actually runs the actual business that she says she does, but she had a whole other profile for her actual business that she was actually running, that she was doing 7 figures in, right? But she was actively ready to build a personal brand and create an impact. For example, she knew that like it's go time. Whenever you lock in and you say, hey, I want to build an information marketing business, I want to actually start leveraging my specialized knowledge and go out and build a business around my expertise. You got to be willing to work. You got to be ready to roll up your sleeves and be ready to get into this game and start creating an impact first and foremost. Like there's all types of money to be made. Like people get into this space and they can make life-changing money for whatever, however you decide or however you define life-changing money. Like you can get into this space and do that for yourself, whether life-changing money is $10,000 a month for you, whether it's $25,000 a month, $50,000 a month, $250,000 a month, $1 million a month, whatever it is. In the information marketing space, it's like infinitely scalable because there's so much opportunity in this world. But she understood that like at the end of the day, I'm ready to go out and create an impact because I have expertise that I know that if like I'm doing a disservice at this point in my market, if I don't actually step into this space and start creating an impact, because there's people who are in my space doing what I do and they're out there educating and sharing their expertise, but they're not doing it like I do it. And I feel like so she had that type of vibe, right? So it was perfectly fitting for her to step into this space, and she was ready. She was mentally ready, locked in, ready to put the work in. So I want to put emphasis on that, right? Now, she had no courses, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, no digital products, no ads for the info business, no nothing. But now, when it comes to the 8 core components that I actually broke down, if you haven't seen that video yet, I highly recommend you at the end of this video, go back and watch part 1 of my 4-part video series. Part 1 is over the influence engine, because these are the components that I actually assessed. And I'm going to explain to you exactly what she had, and then what gaps we filled to ultimately, scale her up, right? So let's go right into this. So the 8 core components, she has specialized knowledge, that was checked. Compelling backstory. So let me touch on compelling backstory for a little bit. Like, because sometimes people step into the game and they're like, man, I don't have a compelling backstory. And sometimes they overthink it to where like, if you've accomplished any form of success, like I don't know anybody that's accomplished some form of success if they haven't went through some form of trials and tribulations. Like that's where the, everybody like, you take losses and you learn, like, or everybody started from somewhere. Let's put it that way. I was about to talk about how like, hell, if you have taken losses, that's a part of your story. That's a part of your journey. And I don't know anybody that's accomplished any form of success that hasn't taken any form of losses. So you can talk about your losses. You can talk about like, what were you doing before you got into the vehicle of what you're doing now? You can talk about all the things that you shared. You can talk about some of your personal life, your personal experiences, how it was growing up for you, or some of the things, like anything that aligns with like, how did you become you, right? Like, what's your backstory? Who are you? Like, so compelling backstory. Everybody has one. For her, we were able to, ask the right questions and kind of, hear some of the things that she went through and hear her journey to ultimately pull out a compelling backstory that we can actually place into the market to help create that deeper connection with the audience that we're going to attract. And so if you want to learn more about that deeper, just make sure to go back and watch that video there, because I really break this down in great detail in that video. But she had that stand for something. Through further learning more about her, we were able to create this, but this was not something that we could actively see just through checking her out as a brand, but perfectly fine. Relatability and vulnerability, that goes the line, is very much in sync with the compelling backstory. She had that, we were good to go. Define enemy, we actually, through learning more about the brand and then putting together like our strategy, we created the define enemy and actually wrote that out. So this turned into a checkbox. We identified what that was going to be with our marketing plan. Character archetype, we identified that as well when it comes to like building out the strategy, writing all the copy, writing all the emails, writing all the approach that we took to actually put her landing pages together, her sales pages, all her offers. Like we intertwine and infuse like what's going to be her archetype and the way that we're going to position her brand in the market based upon who she is, her specialized knowledge, the results that she was able to create, and her story. And then we turn that into this powerful marketing system that I'm going to be breaking down in this video. So didn't have that, but we put that in there. Then the proof. Remember, even if you, I say remember, but if you haven't watched this video, you won't know what I'm talking about just yet. So I'm gonna just touch on it on a high level. She's the proof. Like she didn't actually already have, because she's was new into this space, starting from zero with this information marketing business. So it's not like she had like a plethora of students and clients that she's already impacted that could share testimonials of like, what she has done to actually help them get to the next level. She didn't have that yet. So she is the proof. She did have proof for her current business that she was actively running that she's an expert in. So that proof there further proves that like she does what she says she does in her field, but not when it comes to actually coaching and impacting people's lives and guiding people to get to the transformation that her information marketing business will ultimately get them to. She didn't have that yet, nor did she have a transformation promise. She just understood that, like, hey, I got this system down. I got it dialed in. I know that I can go out and create results for other businesses that's just like my business. And, we ended up creating that, but she did not have that, right? But these 8 core components, this is what's mission critical and needed to jump into any market to ultimately build trust, build authority, build credibility through assessing these 8 core components, right? So that's just a little backstory about the client profile. Now, what did we do to take this client profile from zero to $200,000 within their first 2 months of business? Let's talk about it. First things first, I knew that we needed to give her instant authority. So I'm gonna zoom in here so that way you can see here. So I want you to focus just on webinar, right? The first things first that we had to do, we had to put together and start working on a plan to build her out a webinar. A webinar is the most scalable form of media. You could literally be somebody that has zero authority, zero credibility, like you're not actually in the space at all. And within a short period of time, within the next 30 days, you could put together a webinar, which this is the most scalable form of media because it allows you to speak to your ideal audience one-to-many style instead of having to talk to every potential prospect that may be interested in doing business with you one-on-one. So literally, we put together a webinar that positioned her as an authority figure, going over the 5 proven steps to start or transform your med spa into a 7-figure powerhouse, where she broke down her exact proven process that she used to grow her business from just her whole journey of what she was doing when she was at $10,000 a month, the things that she was learning, the things that she was doing wrong, the things that ultimately took her from where she was then to doing her $150,000 plus a month, doing 7 figures in her business, and she broke it down through the most scalable form of media being a webinar. So that was going to be the first thing that we needed to attack, and that's what we did, right? The second thing is, which let me zoom this back out so you can see. The second thing is, and this is like number one, this is like gold right here as far as a massive authority building piece. But then when you intertwine a book, like an actual physical book, a lot of people in today's market, they're not even thinking about doing physical books. They're focused on, ebooks and things and like little guides and like PDFs and things of that nature, but they're not actually focusing on the power of a physical book. So that was strategic move number 2. Although her book has not even released yet, this was something that I wanted to attack both of them at the same time because I knew that I wanted to come and do a big power move. And she was on board, and there was a lot of moving parts that had to go in with that. But our first thing that we released was this. So this is what we've used so far to generate the $200,000. And I don't want to confuse you with like, oh, so that means I need to go out and create a book. Although we do help brands that want to jump into the space and become an authority figure, like I literally can help you go from like not having a book at all and not even having to think about writing your book to just extracting all the information from you and then ultimately ghostwriting and publishing your book and putting it out in the market to really position you as that massive authority figure with your published book that breaks down your process, whatever it is that you do, right? So that is what we started to work on behind the scenes just to go ahead and get that rolling for her. And this is actually a picture of me. I actually posted this on my Instagram story, kind of talking about a new info business from zero loading, and that is her book there. But that is going to be, I'm going to probably make a follow-up. I'm probably turn this into a number of videos that I'll talk about with this actual case study, but we are going to do some big things with this. But doing both of this is like the ultimate authority building machine because you leverage a webinar, most scalable form of media, and then you leverage the power that a physical book, being able to put an actual book into your ideal prospects' hands, so then that way they can learn from you. And then of course the book becomes a massive lead magnet, but you want to make that book be high value, and that's one of the things that we do. And then on the back end, it turns into a lot of back end business as well. It's a massive nurturing component, right? So these are the two mediums and sales mechanisms that we put together for her. First, starting out with the webinar funnel, then this is going to be a book funnel, right? But I'm gonna solely just talk about the webinar funnel for now. So we identified that because we got to give her instant authority, because remember, she's new in this space. She doesn't have any personal brand authority in terms of like actually teaching people and educating people, and like people don't even know that like she didn't have an information marketing business, right? So the first things first, giving her authority. So we focused on locking in on doing that. So now let's talk about how we actually built it out. We needed to fill the gaps above. So everything that I was breaking down here in terms of like we needed to dial in what that transformation promise was going to be, that character archetype, that defined enemy. In her case, a defined enemy was something that could really relate to her audience, which was conceptually, it was just agencies and consultants out there that, or I actually no, what approach did we take? It was really mainly just agencies, like because oh, that's what it was. Came back to me. We so agencies that weren't actually in the business. So the difference between her coming in teaching in this space, she's in the business versus an agency that's not in the business of her niche. Like an agency that's not running Med Spa but servicing Med Spa, that's way less relatability than if she has an agency, which is one of the things that is getting built on the back end of her business. Well, if she has that, and she actually is in the business, that's much more relatable than not than an agency that can't take that angle, right? So that was a defined enemy in terms of agencies actually doing her audience wrong, as well as people like misinformation and then just them getting in their own way. Like it was combined. It was a combined across a few things, but I just wanted to kind of give you an example there. So we filled the gaps on all of these, right? Once the gaps were filled, then we got to work on creating the following courses. So we needed a $1,500 product. This is going to be what we sell on the webinar, right? So once we had that $1,500 product, that had to get filmed. And you really want to make sure whenever it comes to like creating your content, you want to have the mind frame that like I'm looking to under promise and over deliver, right? So like we killed it with this $1,500 product. Like we didn't leave no stone unturned as far as information, right? Of course, they can ultimately end up upgrading and get help with implementation by getting some components done for them. But we put together a $1,500 product. We put together a $27 product. So then that way we can, let me actually come over here. All right, so we put together, I got a video here, 100 million plus webinar scaling system that I have my team pop this up as I talk about this on this video, but this is the video that I definitely recommend you go back and watch where I explain my whole webinar scaling system, but that's ultimately what we put her brand through. So we put together a product that we needed to sell here. And then of course we put together our $1,500 product that we were going to offer on the webinar. And then we had to build out her course portal. And then we needed to actually put a community together because the worst thing to do is to put together, like going to the days where you think that you can just sell a course and not actually have a community and not actually have support. Like people buy people, right? People want to be able to connect with like-minded individuals. People want to be able to congregate amongst the community and be social. Like we're social beings, right? We don't want to just buy. I mean, it used to work like years ago when, you can get on and just sell information. Like people are flooded with information. Like there's so much information is in abundance, so you can sell the information, but you also got to have more perks and benefits with it, and one of those things is a community. So within our valuable $1,500 product that actually breaks down the system that needed to get done, for her business, for her avatar to ultimately, take them through the in-depth process to ultimately scale up their business. And we had we had a big transformation promise. We had a lot of wins that were micro wins that were through that offer that people could get wins right away. And it's a powerful offer, right? And it really helps. And it's only $1,500. Now, I will say this, anytime there's opportunity to, anytime you can bake in continuity, do it. We baked in continuity in this too because we had we worked on some things with some SaaS to where we can have SaaS intertwined within this because these business owners, we needed to ultimately be able to offer them solutions with their CRM as well, so that way they can have better client management for their actual businesses. And we ended up baking in a CRM system, that ultimately people come in, they pay this, they get to get a trial for the CRM as well. And we baked in SaaS into the offer. So we're also building continuity within this package as well. And then our $27 product, this is a valuable front end product, which coming back to this, we sell it on the front end of the webinar, like I was explaining. And then we had a course portal community. So with the community, we want to have a free group and a paid group. So I'm just going to touch base on this on a high level because everybody that registers for our actual webinar, once we get them on the confirmation page, we push them in the community, the free Facebook group. And there's a lot of other opportunities to ensure that they get into the free Facebook group as well. As we go through the actual funnel. And remember, if you want to go watch a video where I break down this whole process, make sure to go watch that video over my $100 million plus webinar scaling system. So you'll see how everything works out and everything that we're implementing for this brand here. But ultimately, we had a free Facebook group and a paid Facebook group. Of course, that's where the paid members go. We needed to build that out. Now, her offers. So it's one thing to actually have the actual product, but you want to make sure you have a compelling offer wrapped around that $1,500 product with some killer bonuses. I'm not going to actually reveal the bonuses and reveal the strategic things that we did specifically in her business and give that away, but or with her particular $1,500 offer and give that away. So But just understand that we need to have some killer bonuses. I'll probably make another video at some point on my YouTube channel going over like best practices when it comes to like building out your bonuses and things of that nature. But just make sure that you have some bonuses. The bonuses should feel more valuable than the actual like content, the actual main program in itself, right? And of course, under promise, over deliver. You can't go wrong with under promising and over delivering. You never want to be in a situation where you actually over promised and then you failed on the expectations, because then what happened? Coming back to this, where I said, we filmed a vicious course. We have a nice course portal. If you over promise and under deliver, and you create a bad experience for your new customers, like refund rates are going to be high, chargeback rates are going to be high. Ultimately, you're not going to be able to ascend your customers, because any business that you build, as we're building this business from scratch, like this $0 to $200,000, we're going to end up having a vicious lifetime value, because we're killing it right now with just our first main offers. We got more offers that we're going to be rolling out on the back end, and through having a good experience and through having a quality product, we're going to naturally begin to ascend our customers. Because here's the thing, in this information marketing world, there's always, really in a number of business models, there's always the what's next component, right? So let's say, for example, if I have the ability to get somebody from A all the way to Z, or let me use numbers for make it more simple, from level 1 to level 10, right? And let's say that this product here is meant for somebody to go from level 1 to level 3. Well, what happens when the people get to level 3 and they're now ready? Some people may say, cool, I'm cool with level 3. This is cool by me. I'm straight. But there's other people that's going to say, well, what's next? I want to go from level 3 to level 6. Then that's the what's next component. And our job as the business to be able to be sure that we can offer the what's next component, because we already know that it's going to be created. So that brings me to this next thing. Through us delivering a quality experience, we ended up installing a hand raiser ascension for the buyers. Super simple process. At its core, for everybody that buys into this offer and they come into our orientation process, well, we just baked in. This isn't like any upselling or like some pitch fest or anything of that nature where somebody buys something and then you're constantly pitching them more things. Nope. It's a regular, natural, smooth process. There's always going to be people in our audience in every niche that value time more than money, meaning they would pay even more money to get to a result faster, or even to take some of the heavy lifting off their plate. So what you want to do is you want to look for opportunities to install hand raiser ascensions. Like, you literally can have a hand raiser ascension where you don't even have the offer created yet, which is exactly what we did for this business, but we installed the hand raiser ascension based upon all the things that we can actually do, and we just have curiosity and intrigue language baked into our onboarding process, which our onboarding process is what we take somebody through when they actually buy our solution on the webinar. Then from there, the people that raise their hand, they actually can take the next step to show us a level of interest. And then from there, we can talk to them to identify what type of solution we can create. And the only reason there's a number of benefits that are there for taking this route, but the reason why we took this route within this business is because, again, we started it from scratch, from 0 to 200,000 in the first 2 months. So we need to collect data. The best way to collect data is to talk to our existing customers. So what ended up happening is this led to back-end solutions and offers that we ended up building out to be able to serve the audience, which, like I said, back up here where we got the first $10,000 wire, because there's all types of things that we can offer. And a team is getting built out within this business. Like, there's a number of resources that are getting built out actively as we scale this business. So we were literally able to offer more solutions at higher price points based upon what people were raising their hands and telling that they were interested in. And then what's ended up happening now is we're building a wait list for people who are interested in more back-end solutions. But our core focus is still with the small niche team of this new business that she has, is just scaling our main product here, because this product ends up being a feeder into our back-end solution. So it's going great, and that's how I know it. I can confidently say, like, we're at 200,000 now. This is going to be a multi-7-figure per year business, easy, because like it's already building. The groundwork is already laid. We're going to keep on scaling up. I didn't even talk to you about how many people are in the webinars right now. On average, we're getting about anywhere between 150 to 250 attendees every single webinar, but here pretty soon that 250 is going to be 350, 500, 600, 700 plus people in these webinars that we're running, because that is our main media form that we use to actually bring new people into our world. And then of course, we're going to end up having the book running simultaneously. So we're going to end up getting more and more leads, more and more people that are strangers that don't know yet about her as a brand, as an authority figure, but they're resonating with her message and they're coming into our world. And then once they're in our world, we're going to take them through our process, right? Which I highly recommend you go back and watch my 4-part video series, starting with part 1, where I break everything down, because I go in a lot more detail in terms of like like all the minor nuances that's happening, but I'm just explaining to you at a high level of exactly what we're doing for her business and how we ultimately, generated $200,000. So we got our front ends, we got our front ends generating our leads to we're bringing them into our ecosystem. And then of course we got our most scalable form of medium, which that's the webinar. That's how we're presenting our offer. And then we got our onboarding process that has a baked in hand raiser extension in it. And that's how we're getting people into the back end, right? Now, just for some high level stuff, of course, before we actually, like all this stuff got built out and all this stuff was rolling, I did kind of skip ahead here a little bit. I actually probably should have put this up a little bit higher. But of course, we needed to, when we got her launched, we needed to come up with ad scripts that spoke directly to the pain points and the burning desires of her actual ideal audience that we were speaking to. So we needed to first actually identify, well, hold on, who are we speaking to? And we did that through actually auditing her brand and creating her transformation promise and auditing like, okay, this is what your specialized knowledge is. This is what you can actually, this is the results that you created for yourself. These are the results you can actually create for other businesses that are like your business, if they follow your process, because you have it, dialed into a proven process because you have the expertise. So we needed to then identify and do the market research to find all the different pain points that we need to hit for her particular audience that actually exists out there in the market. And then of course, in one of my videos where I talk about how to find a hungry market, this is like video part 2 of my 4-part video series, I break down components about how to find a hungry market or how to identify a hungry market. And she met all the check boxes that I talk about in that video as far as the markets that we were going after. And one of those things is there has to be competition. So we literally just went and looked at what the competitors were doing, what type of messages they were putting out into the market, and we just made it better. And we really made sure that we spoke to those pain points and spoke to those burning desires, so that way we can have ads, video content that she could film. And then of course we produce ad copy that echoed that. It's very important to have congruency across your ad copy on your registration page, on your actual ads, on your actual video content, and then actually driving them to the funnel to where there's congruency across the board. The more congruent our actual messaging is across all marketing assets, the better everything's going to perform, right? Then from there, we have the funnel built out. We drove all the traffic to the registration page. We got our bridge page, confirmation page. And once all this was built out and once all this was identified, ultimately, we installed our webinar traffic system and ultimately began to push paid media behind every single thing we're doing and everything we built out for this actual funnel, right? And the initial results, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, you do not have to have $91,000 to start out spending. We started off, we spent around $3,500 and we ended up bringing back 8.9K. And this was for our first actual webinar that we ran. So now let's talk about it, and I'm gonna talk about our next plays from here. But before we do that, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I do wanna actually show you a real dashboard within Hyros. So I'm going to transition over here to Hyros real quick because I know I showed you screenshots here. So let's look at this data. All right, so this right here, I'm inside of the Hyros platform. This is the 3.58K that we spent as we just got started. When we wrote this out, it was Wednesday. The webinars were on Wednesday, so the 16th to the 22nd we launched, and this is what we spent, 3.5K to generate 8.9K, right? And then I'm also show. Let me go back over here. What was our same dates we had? The 14th to the 18th. Well, technically we hadn't even spent anything on the 18th. That's why I had that on the 16th. So, all right, so let's go here. Boom. 14th. Let's go here. I'm going to show this. Boom. Nothing has been spent there because we didn't launch to the 16th. Now let's go out to where we were. Boom. We see that 91K to bring back 190,000. And then when we come over here, we had our $10,000 wire. This is directly within the platform. Of course, we can refresh. So everything that I'm saying here is legit. This is a real business. This is real data. And this is real information marketing business that we're growing. But now what I want to talk to you about as we begin to wrap this video up in terms of what's next. And then also I want to talk about this budget here a little bit. A lot of times people, when they jump into like getting started, running webinars for their business, or even sometimes when new brands come on and begin to work with us, there's always like mixed emotions around like, what should my budget be to actually launch? I do recommend, kind of like here, if we go with 35.86, I'm actually do the math real quick and see what that was. If we just divide that by 7 days, I think that's about $500 or $600 a day. Let's do 35.86 divided by 7. Yeah, that's about, so $512 a day, which that's exactly what I was about to say from a testing budget standpoint. I really recommend your testing budget because you got to get data in, right? I recommend your testing budget be anywhere between $500 a day to $1,000 a day. Getting started to actually, build out your traffic machine, right? Your traffic that you're driving to the webinars. Because think about it, you don't want to like, even if you have more ad spend and you want to get more aggressive, I really don't recommend you getting any more aggressive at max. People who come in and they're like, man, I got an infinite ad budget, I'm ready to roll. Even for them, for their first event, I recommend at max 1,500. Like, the everyday business owner that's not really wanting to be super duper aggressive and super duper bought in and not really thinking like that. I encourage them to be in between 500 to 1,000 to get started, and then the frame of mind that you want to be in, because this is exactly what we did for this business here, is we need to understand that we're buying data. What that means is when we run ads on these advertising platforms, we got audiences that we're going to target. So we're going to identify what's our best performing audiences. But with those audiences, you know how I mentioned earlier, we came up with ad scripts that spoke to the pain points, the burning desires. We came up with ad copy. We're also going to be testing not only the audiences, we're going to be testing the actual creatives. So the creatives that got filmed for those ad scripts and the ad copy to see what ultimately performs best. And we're going to get the data back, and that data is going to show us like what's our best performing campaigns that we're running, what's our best performing assets, right? And then from there, we're going to be able to, optimize and refine. We're going to kill what's not working. We're going to scale up what is working, and we're ultimately going to do more of what's working. We're going to test more creatives, test more concepts, and we're going to keep on building. So even if, let's say, for example, hypothetically, for this business right here, we spent $3,500 and we brought back $3,500. Now, that wouldn't have been, we didn't make any profit or anything of that nature, but that would have been looked at like, man, we just liquidated our ad spend for free out the gate, and none of our audiences really hit yet as far as like profitable, but we made back exactly what we spent. That would still be considered a win starting off because, we're very, very good at what we do. So, we were able to, get some winning audiences out the gate and, start off and already have where we basically doubled our money here or just about tripled it. But everybody's scenario and situation is different. I just want you to understand that at the beginning, you have to buy data and you have to put traffic to get more eyeballs on the thing it is that you're doing. You have to be willing to take those risks, but understand you're buying emails, you're buying phone numbers, you're buying data that you can ultimately not only retarget with your advertising and your paid traffic, you can also email them and SMS them, so that way you can still put your products or services or solution in front of their face. And then, at the end of the day, traffic plus conversions equals cash. This is a high converting system that we built out. If you, put traffic behind it, then ultimately you're going to generate new revenue for your business. So from here, pretty much our next steps as we're sitting at, $200,000, we're going to continuously, like I mentioned, the hamburger campaign, we got a mid-ticket offer that, came in the works for basically it's going to be accelerators. So right now for this business, we're working on, getting different team members and stuff to, we're hiring on more staff and things of that nature. So that's the beauty about this. You literally can launch a new program, small team, because there's 100% margins, get a bunch of cash in and then use the cash to start to build out your team and start to build out more assets. So then that way you can start to offer and do more. So what's happening for her on the back end, due to this hand-raiser campaign, there's people who want a lot of done-for-you solutions, which that's expected. That's the norm. You got do-it-yourself offers, you got done-with-you offers, you got done-for-you, right? So when it's all said and done, we're going to end up having like, we got our low-ticket solutions, which that's the offer we sell on the front end of the webinar, that bridge offer. We're going to have our book funnel, which that's going to be its own low-ticket offer. And then we're going to have like a mid-ticket offer in between that $3,000 to $4,500 price point. And then we're going to end up having a 10K plus offer. And then we're probably going to have some form of ongoing continuity services on the back end when it's all said and done. So this is easily a multi-7-figure business. I honestly could say 8-figure business, but there's so many different variables that we have to take into consideration here when it comes to building out an 8-figure business, because you got to really go hard at this. But easy right now, as you see, we're at $200,000 only 2 months in. So that's basically, we're already averaging $100,000 a month, and we're going to exceed that because we're going to start to get way more attendees in the webinar room, and it's a numbers game at that point. And we're dialing in our KPIs, we're getting our back-end offers in place, and when it's all said and done, we're going to continue to scale this up. So as we bring this video to a whole, if you got specialized knowledge, if you got expertise, you clearly see this is the process that you can follow to create results, and honestly create results pretty fast following this proven process. If you enjoyed this video, I'm going to place a video up here right above my head. I highly encourage you to go watch this video. And lastly, if you're interested in having me and my team come on and do all the things that I broke down in this video, and really more, there's so many things that I didn't actually get to touch base on, but I gave you the core of like what are the needle mover things that we're doing to create the $200,000 in the first 2 months of business. But if you want to have me and my team come on and actually do all of that for your business as well, then there's also going to be a link in the description where you can fill out a quick intake form, so that way me and my team can get a little bit more information about your business. And then from there, we will audit to see if we're potentially a good fit, and we will be reaching out to you. So that's it for this video. Signing off, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.